We're back with Extra Trash, and we got a lot of ground to cover because so much has happened in the past week in the world of fighting games. We have the Strive 2.0 patch actually out in the wild, and we have the reception from the community. We got the Capcom Pro Tour updates to know the prizing and the shape of the tour for the year to come. We even have, potentially, Rollback coming to the best game ever, exclamation point Glaze. We'll see if that comes to fruition with the Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 bounty from Max for Rollback netcode. But first up, we got the big one. We had the Invincible VS Beta over the past weekend, and we will get into the gameplay. But of course, I think the big discourse around this was the Ragequits and the dividing lines between people who are pro Ragequit and anti Ragequit, which brought out a lot of interesting discussion over the FGC and beyond. But before we get into it, Adam, how you doing, man? You playing any fighting games for the past week?
We gotten some good fighting games. I dabbled in the Invincible Beta. I've been playing a lot of Strive 2.0. So, I've been having fun playing fighting games. It's a good time to be a fighting game fan.
But you're playing more Strive than Invincible Versus? You don't want to check it out?
I played Invincible for a while, but 2.0 is sick. I've been having a lot of fun playing 2.0.
Dodging the beta. Yeah, I think we should talk about the gameplay itself, because I think even before we get into the Rage Quit discourse, the beta gameplay itself was a little divisive, I found, from a lot of different audiences. And I think a lot of people were eyeing Invincible Versus for a while to see if this was going to be a game they're interested in, because, let's be a little honest here. The visuals are a little, they're a little chunky with the animations, right? Like, the animations are a little jank. You had that classic sort of Western dev fighting game charm to it, like a Killer Instinct or a Mortal Kombat. But this, I think, had the most amount of jank into the visuals and how it was actually piloting when you're controlling it. So I think a lot of people were a little bit hesitant about going all in on the Invincible Versus train here. And I got to play it for the first time in depth, and I had a decent amount of fun with it, but there was some weird shenanigans with the game. And I think first off, we can highlight some of the things that the high-level players found, because I didn't even get that far. I found some other things strange first. We'll get into that. But one of the big things that we saw some players complaining about was the fact that there were safe on block DPs, invincible DPs with armor that lead into full combos, but are also safe on block. So, like, once people learned about that, people were like, wait a minute, like, oh, this is the type of game we're playing. Just spam the DP, because that leads into a full combo and potentially a touch of death, depleting one of the characters from the team.
For me, like, I didn't get as far as the DP, but for me, like, my main complaint was, like, some of the auto combos felt kind of like, just kind of like there, like mash, mash square. It felt very DBFZ trying to onboard people, which is fine, because like I said, I know a lot of people, they're trying to get a lot of people who enjoy the show. I like the show too, but they're trying to onboard a lot of people who like the show and not really teaching people like fighting game mechanics per se. But it's cool. I've seen, like, there's overhead assist in the game, and there's a lot of things that Marvel 3 does right that I feel like a lot of the other tag fighters aren't doing that well.
Yeah, I'm glad you touched upon the Autocombos. I'll quickly talk about the overhead assist. That's something I realized a little bit into it. Like, I was holding down back and someone called an assist, and I clearly got hit. And I'm like, wait, was that assist overhead? And then I was seeing with the high-level players, they're just doing these full-screen special moves like Invincible Lariat. You just do that full screen, and plus an assist to cover you. And you put them in blocks, and an overhead assist comes, and then you go low with your point character. And you pretty much get a hard-to-blockable, pseudo-unblockable situation where the high-low happens very rapidly with a few frames gap between them, almost impossible to block by a human. And I was like, oh, like, that's the type of game we're playing. Like, this is a D-Gen game. And when you get the hit, the way it operates is you have essentially unlimited ways to combo the opponent. The way the combo system works, if you haven't been paying attention to Invincible Versus, it definitely takes inspiration from Killer Instinct. A lot of the Killer Instinct devs worked on this game, And you have your basic light, medium, heavy chains where you climb the tree, canceling light, medium to heavy. And then your special moves that you can cancel from the normals, you can then cancel back into normals out of the special moves and keep looping that sequence. What gates that from being an infinite is that there's a combo meter that fills up very quick. And once you fill up that meter, the next hit just causes a knockdown. And so you can't just do like light, medium, heavy, special, light, medium, heavy, special over and over. They'll just flip out very quick. To decrease that meter, you do any of the meter options of the special moves that will take like a chunk away from that combo meter, decrease it, and that costs one of your 3 boost gauge, I believe is what they call it in this game, which is essentially like drive meter. It's very analogous to the drive system. So that will like allow you to continue your combo. It'll decrease the combo meter at the cost of one of your boost gauge. Or then you can also active tag. And the active tags you could do indefinitely. You can do heavy, light, medium, heavy, active tag, light, medium, heavy, active tag, and keep swapping your characters forever. However, there is counter tags, and that's where the RPS begins, the rock, paper, scissors begins. If I react to you doing an active tag, and I press my counter tag button, I'll break the combo, break the tag, and we'll reset. However, you can either do the regular active tag timing, or you can press heavy during your active tag to delay the active tag timing, which means for them to break the active tag, they can't press it right away at the normal timing, that the delay when they actually do the active tag timing. Or you can do a feint where you say, hey, I know you're going to try to react with a counter tag. I'm going to feint the tag, and if they attempt to break the tag in return, you get a reset combo. But if they don't do anything and they just don't react or read that you're trying to bait them, you can be punished instead. So basically, every combo is essentially always a touch of death with an RPS moment in the middle of it and some mind games associated with that active tag counter system. And when people start to understand, like, oh, there's these safe on block DPs, there's these like high assists that hit high, and I can set up hard to unblockables, people quickly realize, like, oh, this is the type of game we're in. Like, we are in a degen way to get your hit and then set up a potential TOD with a rock, paper, scissors moment in between to determine if this kills or not. Hey there, we'll get right back to the conversation, but I wanted to take a moment to proudly announce what we're officially sipping on with the Extra Trashy mug. Trash Talk has officially partnered up with Okazemi Coffee Company, an FGC first grassroots company delivering high quality roasted coffee to your door. Everyone from the owners to the artists are FGC people working on their custom light, medium, and heavy roast blends. My personal favorite is the heavy attack roast because I like a bit more of a dark roast flavor for my cup of coffee. So to improve your wake up options with Okazemi Coffee, you can head to okazemi.coffee and use discount code BrianF for 15% off your next order. Okay, back to the show.
Yeah, it's kind of like there's a lot of things that I actually think this game does a lot like Marvel 3. And when I was playing for a bit, I was kind of like, Marvel 3 kind of does this, right? But I do feel like the RPS thing is actually so good because it kind of fixes what a lot of casuals don't like when you're into, like, you know, you're watching somebody do a long combo and then you feel like you're in a cutscene. You're basically in an unskippable cutscene. So I do like the whole RPS situation of that the combo breaker kind of gives you. But they're like, the person has to know how the combo breaker works. You got to know how the mechanics work, and then it's just like now it's getting kind of gatekeepy. Which, even though I don't even think that's gatekeepy, that's a basic understanding of how the game works. Like, you read like 2 lines. If you played the tutorial, you know how it works. Basically.
Right. Yeah, that's one of those mechanics that is a little dangerous to unleash into a bunch of casuals because, and just to be clear, you're saying combo breaker. This isn't the combo breaker. This is the assist counter. Maybe it's called something else, but I want to like draw that distinction. There's so many mechanics.
It's basic. It's
because the combo breaker itself, there is a combo breaker which you cannot stop, which I think is another point to talk about, because the combo breaker uses 2 bars of that drive gauge. People were you can combo breaker nonstop in this game because the meter comes back. I mean, it doesn't refill as fast as drive. It's a bit slower, but basically that your boost gauge also is for each individual character. They all have their own individual 3-bar meter. So as soon as you get to another character, you can break another combo. So in a lot of like casual level matches, people are just breaking every single combo. Yeah. Like, they're just spamming that. So it's pretty. There's also on one end, if they don't know how the combo breaker works, or they're out of meter, and they don't know how the active tag works, they can get looped forever. Like, if you know how to do light, medium, heavy active tag, and they don't understand the counter tag system, you have a TOD every single time. Like, there is that immediate, like, you lose. You failed to read the tutorial. Game over. GG. Thanks for playing. But on the other hand, it was kind of scrappy at low level because there's constant combo breakers happening. And some people even found like, oh, it's kind of annoying that there's so many like combo breaker moments. So I don't know if you felt that. It was a little like scrappy in that sense when I played.
To me, I'm not really a fan of like combo breakers and tag fighters. Like one is fine, but like kind of like you're saying, it happens so frequently. Even in like 2Co, I'm not really a big fan of it. So there's like a degen level of how I got hit. I guess Invincible is kind of leaning into that. You're gonna get hit by a lot of jank stuff. So here's a combo breaker, but I don't. It's so weird to kind of like put into words. But I played for like 30 minutes to an hour, so I didn't get too much into it, but I have been watching a lot of, Twitch. I watched iPhone play. I watched you play. I watched Punk play. So the game did look very jank, but it did look like, there is an audience there who would enjoy it.
Right. And you mentioned that the auto combos. I do think that's a big point that I felt about the game. This has the DBFZ issue, like you mentioned, of you can just mash light and your auto combos will happen on whiff. And if at any point one of those active hitboxes intersects with the opponent, it's going to go into a full combo, into a super animation, yada yada, right? And the weird thing about it is things in this game are weirdly safe. When I was first playing, I went up against an opponent who literally held down the L button as if with turbo on, did nothing else. And for my first game, I was like, this guy's kind of dangerous. You know what I mean? I was like, listen, I've been playing fighting games for forever at this point, and I'm concerned about this guy. I'm there trying to see, okay, can I block this part of the string and then interrupt here? No, I got hit into a full combo, full auto combo. Okay, let me try again. Can I interrupt in this? No, I get it. You know what I mean? And there was no point in the auto combo where I was like, oh, like their pressure ended. It's clearly my turn. And I thought about that design, and I'm like, in general, this game has the weirdly safe things on block. Even supers. A lot of the supers were safe on block. And I was like, dude, what the fuck? Like, the supers were invincible. Some of them were not invincible in startup, so maybe there's a correlation there. I'm not sure. Some are invincible, though. And I was like, dude, why is everything so safe? Like, everything on block is safe. Just flail and reset the situation if it doesn't work. But with the auto combos, I was like, I don't know. After all these years of doing auto combos like that, I'm not sure how good of a design that is for onboarding new players. I've been thinking about that more and more, because what happens is, take player A and player B. Player A only matches auto combo L. Player B is also brand new. They're both brand new, but player B is trying to use the other moves and get feedback and learn, like, hey, when I press this button, this happens in this situation, and slowly build that sort of contextual understanding of feedback from the game. And this game state, if I do this, this happens, and build that up. And that's how you learn the game, right? Player A is going to win every time. However, for both players, player A might get a short-term dopamine hit, but eventually they're going to be like, this game is dumb. I just mash L the entire time and I win. And player B is going to be like, this game is dumb. This guy is doing the same thing over and over, and no matter what I do, they win. And so I kind of feel like on both ends, in a weird way, it can lead to short-term retention because it's just a little over-tuned at low level, I feel like. I don't know. What do you think?
I have a different opinion. I do think if player B is going to be upset. I feel like no matter what, player B is getting the short end of the stick. But player A, you could also think about, hey, I'm mashing L, but this guy shot a cool laser beam out of his eye, shot a big energy ball. At least something did happen, instead of just like, hey, this guy's just mashing light punch and nothing cool or flashy ever happened. So I think player A is probably having a blast now, since he doesn't have to learn that much or invest that much time into the game. Player B's pissed. I feel bad for player B. Player B's just angry.
Well, the thing is, I did see some comments of people saying like it's just a masher. Like, I think that leads to... I don't think people who don't know how to play fighting games are dumb, right? Like, they understand at some point, like, hey, I'm just pressing the L button and then shit happens. And I think that's really cool for a super short-term hit, but it's such a shallow experience that I think it really quickly loses its allure. That's my concern with it. I do think it helps to have that, like, moment of cool things happening, but I think when the auto combos happen on whiff, I think that's where I find it to be going too extreme, because it becomes too degen to stop. even for someone who's like a mid-level fighting game player at other titles, at first I was like, dude, like I have to stop here and think about this dude literally mashing. We're both terrible at the game, but I clearly have more experience and I'm trying to figure it out. I had to stop and think about, oh, run away, call assist, let the assist hit them, because they're just flailing. It's like that Simpsons episode with Bart and Lisa, like, oh, I'm going to keep swinging. If you get hit, it's your fault. You know, like, but that's what's happening in this game. And I'm like, I don't know if that's a great design, because it's unsatisfying to play as and unsatisfying to fight against, and no one's really learning. And that's why I like how Street Fighter does their auto combos, which in modern, it has its other drawbacks. But, and you know, in modern and Street Fighter, auto combos don't come out on whiff. It leads to the problem of it being an auto hit confirm, which is cheap in Street Fighter. Like, you know, the combo doesn't come out on block usually for certain situations. It only comes out on hit. But if you mash the auto combo, you just whiff one button until they run into it. I think that alone gives so much more contextual feedback to a player. And like, oh, when they run into the button when it's spaced correctly, then I can continue the combo. But imagine if in Street Fighter, you're mashing an auto combo and the entire time they're just flailing a whole combo across the screen and people run into it. I don't think that would be as rewarding for new players as the way they did it with modern. And so I take issue, I think, with the auto combos on whiff occurring. I think that causes this weird mash fest gameplay where new players quickly, you know, drop the game.
For a lot of new players, well, actually, Tokon did it. Tokon also actually got rid of their auto combos on whiff as well. But for a lot of the new players, I do think it's not how, I don't know, because I don't think it's how they won. Like you said, oh, I think, oh, I'm just mashing LLL and I won. Ha ha ha. I'm so sick for like 2 hours and then never play the game again. I think when they see the you win screen, I think that's the dopamine hit they're actually getting. I don't think it matters how they won. It's the you win popping up.
I think it matters a little bit. I would disagree with you. I mean, I think that's important. I do think it's important to let people do cool shit quickly. I do think that's very important. And I think that the auto combos achieve that. But I think if it's too degenerate at low level to the point where you realize you're not thinking at all, I 100% believe people. It's like playing Hungry Hungry Hippos, bro. Like, it's like playing any other shitty game as a kid that it loses its allure. And that's why adults don't play those kind of games. They want games with more depth, right? But if you get caught in the feedback loop of mashing L only against other scrubs, you are not learning anything. You might be getting you wins to pop up. But that's the concern I have, is that it keeps you in a loop where at least auto combos without whiff teach you about spacing and timing of when to start the hit. I think that's a huge leap in terms of like making that cognitive connection. And so that's one critique I would have of auto combos in general, is what I've slowly hardened my stance in that direction, in terms of not just in terms of like, oh, it's free wins for scrubs. I don't care. That's not what I'm worried about. I'm worried about like the engagement factor for new players. So that's something I've been thinking about, though. I'm like, it's a little weird. And if they're going to make them happen, make them very unsafe on block. Because the new player who's trying to learn how to counter things, give them a clear point of like, okay, they mashed their auto combo all the way without thinking. At this point, punish them. Like, do something to make that clear is what I think.
Then I feel like the games are just going to get exploded. Because if you're good at the game, you're going to be like, okay, well, this guy's bad. He's just mashing auto combo. I'm going to punish him every time. Then you're playing this kind of watch him kill himself kind of game. And then also for two new player is basically, I'm mashing LLL, and when it works, I get a full combo. And when it doesn't, I die. But this guy's also mashing LLL. So let me block for and then mash LLL. So I'm going to punish his LLL.
Yeah, but then suddenly you have a mind game. They're suddenly hit confirming. If the third hit is punishable, but the first two hits are safe, suddenly you're paying attention to what you're doing. Suddenly a mind game develops between two mashers, and they've leveled up. Like, wow, if you take two auto combo mashing L on turbo players together, and you force them to play that game of chicken, suddenly there's like actual engagement between the players. I think that's a way to do it. Like, that would be my recommendation or my theory about this. And for your point about like a bad player versus a better player, yeah, the better player should win 100% of the time, zero questions asked. But they also shouldn't be matched together. That's leading into the rage quit problem.
the bad player is gonna quit. The bad player is gonna quit because he's like, this guy's a block spammer or something. He's gonna quit in like 2 seconds. Yeah, block spam.
Hey man, listen, they were quitting regardless. I guess let's get into it, man. We're wasting all this time talking about gameplay. We're 20 minutes in here, pretty much. Listen, the big takeaway from this is the rage quits.
I do want to touch on one more thing about the gameplay, because I actually do want them to change this. Or this is one of the first things I realized when I played the game, and this might be the tag fighter player in me. Why can you super jump and call assist? Please take that out the game. It's actually very stupid. If you jump to the top of the screen, you call assist. You can't see the assist because it's on the bottom of the screen. You just super jump and call assist, and you get hit. And you don't even see what's happening.
Yeah, but who's even converting that? The other thing I felt weird about is that you have all these movement options, but I felt like the hitboxes were so tiny on the jumps. So like, right? I'm kind of a tag scrub, but like in Marvel, if you super jump and then you come down with a hitbox, you come down with a big ass hitbox. Like if you get above them, you're going to hit them on the way down. In this game, I tried jumping over and over in the beginning, and I'm like, dude, it's impossible to space a jump try jump because your hitboxes are tiny from the air. And I was like, okay, if I stay on the ground, I actually do better. Does that matter?
The problem is like there's no big like, well, maybe just because people aren't really playing that much, but like Adam Eve had like a big like beam attack where she could hit. I guess it's more so character dependent, but yeah, I feel like super jump assist call is kind of my thing. Even Robot, I think he had like a dive kick that went down super fast. So you just jump, call assist, dive kick, full combo. It's like, what are we doing?
True. Yeah, I got the robot dive kick was pretty degen. Yeah, a couple characters had that, but I feel like in general, you had characters that had like double jump, super jump, float, air dash, tri jump, and like, but their hitboxes were not there. And then I'm like, why? I'm like tri jumping, and I'm like trying to come down and hit, and yeah, it felt way weirder to space compared to like you play Marvel 3. You try jump with Magneto, come down with a heavy, you're smacking them. You know what I mean? Like, and it feels good. It feels immediately like, oh hell yeah, I'm schmoving. You know, this game, you're moving, but then you're also whiffing, and I'm like, okay. But yeah, let's get into the rage quits. Of course, the big discussion point around this game was the culture clash going on here, and there's a lot of different nuanced levels to this. But the rage quits were ridiculous for the Invincible versus Beta. My personal experience, I didn't play for the first day, but I did see the tweets going out. And I think the big one was from Avatar Yaya. You know, he's playing the beta. He had his first clip. Like, the beta just started, man. Why y'all rage quitting already? And that went, like, pretty viral. It got, like, over 10K, maybe 15K likes on Twitter and started so much discourse. And then the clips and the discussion was pouring in from every angle of the community and the greater gaming and Invincible community, which is, of course, not core FGC people. And then that also went from every level, right? From beginner level to intermediate to top level. People were getting rage quits everywhere. I didn't believe it myself until I finally booted up the game. My very first game, I started my very first combo, and they pulled the plug after 5 hits. And after that, it was rage quit after rage quit. And it's very interesting to see the culture clash, because I think for some reason, we're starting to see this divide where people will go to great lengths to justify rage quitting. Really great lengths. I don't know if you saw any of those discussion points or how you feel about it in general.
I saw so many like discourse and like people arguing and justifying the rage quit, but a hot take, I understand. It's only the FGC who actually does it. I 100% understand. There's a lot of rage quitters in other video games. Like if you play like a COD, a Battlefield, a Halo, like any, even like sports games, they're just gonna rage quit 100%. Why am I wasting my time? To me, I get the divide. It just sucks in a fighting game because like obviously you want the point or you want the satisfaction or whatever. And it's different for fighting games too, because like matches are like 2 minutes, man. If you don't got 2 minutes to spare, I can't help you. But for every other game, I get it. I 100% get it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who are playing Invincible coming from different communities, and that's a common point. Like, it's very normal to rage quit in other games. And I do think it's very different. Like, core FGC people, of course, we're used to being in a tight-knit community, and basically, like, antisocial behavior, it, like, you know, it spreads. Like, it's a small world, the FGC. So if you're like a rage quitter, like that becomes branded to you. Like we know who you are. Like you're not like in a sea of millions of players, kind of anonymous, and you're gonna get away with it. Like if you play ranked for any period of time, you're probably gonna run into the same handful of people in most regions for most games. So it's like you're gonna see the same rage quitter over and over. Like and so many times in Street Fighter V especially, I would run into some rage quitters and I would play them over and over. And they would just keep rage quit. You know what I mean? It's like you're gonna rage quit, and then 2 games later, I'm gonna play you again, and you're gonna rage quit again. And it's like, dude, it's silly. So I think in general, like the culture of fighting games is, suck it up, play the game, and don't try to scam people out of their points and just finish the set. It's seen as really antisocial behavior, and we're gonna see you again. It's not like you're gonna disappear into the ether. We're never gonna cross paths. I'm probably gonna cross paths with you again, and you're gonna look sillier at that point. But it did make me think about certain aspects. A lot of people were discussing the idea of sweats ruining the experience. And I will give the Rage Quit defenders a point here. It is the responsibility of the game and a good matchmaking system to prevent matchmaking from occurring and leading to really one-sided interactions in a fighting game. For example, I do agree that Justin Wong probably should not be matched up with Timmy, who just likes Invincible versus. He's 13 years old, never played a fighting game before, and it's his very first time, and he selected beginner and the loadout for the matchmaking. I agree, that shouldn't happen, and that would be a very bad experience for them. So that's 1 point for the Rage Quit defenders. In that instance, if you're new, I get it as well, right? However, I'm sick and tired of the jumping through hoops, the coping, the cognitive dissonance. That's not what rage quitters do. Rage quitters are not just people, new players rage quitting against Justin Wong. Rage quitters rage quit against good players, against pros, against bad players, against scrubs, against other people mashing who have never played before, against other rage quitters. Rage quitters rage quit against anybody, no matter the skill discrepancy, no matter if they're getting stomped or whatever. I'm sick and tired of this narrative that people who are defending the rage quitting problem in Invincible Versus are making, where it's because the pros are playing noobs. I had rage quits in my experience where the guy beat me the first game free. The second game, it came down to the wire, last character. I blocked his wake up super and won, and then he rage quit. Was that a stomp? No, the motherfucker got downloaded and was fucking pissed about it. Hold that shit. Is that a noob getting stomped by a pro? No, that was as even as a match as you can get. I think it's crazy. I think rage quit defenders are coping out of their minds to justify their clearly antisocial behavior. You know you're in the wrong. You know it.
Well, not to, defend the rage quitters too, but I also think there was an incentive to get high points because they were saying if you got to top 20, you were in the credits. And, that's kind of cool to be in a video game credit. I'm in an SF5 credit. But
no flex or nothing, but okay.
Yeah, no flex or anything. But yeah, I'm there. But yeah, there's an incentive. I'm sure if other fighting games had incentives to be higher ranked, get to master, or if you end the season on legend in Street Fighter, you get something cool. It would be like, hey, I'm gonna start rage quitting because I gotta save my points or whatever. So I do partially understand that is an incentive to rage quit to try to get something cool or nice.
Yeah, that was the other aspect of it. The Invincible, like you mentioned, Invincible Versus announced that the top 20 in the leaderboard after the beta would be in the credits. So at the top level, we saw Justin Wong and Daiphone, for example, tweeting about this. Daiphone had a clip where he's winning a match against another high-ranked player, and he's like, please don't rage quit. Please don't rage quit. And then as soon as the last hit happens, they rage quit, and he's like, oh, fuck no. And is that a scrub being beat up by a sweat rage quitting? No, it's someone who's good at the game trying to scumbag their way into the credits. The Invincible devs did clarify that the rage quits did eventually count as a loss for the person rage quitting. It would just, and they even said a win for the person who got rage quit against. They said it just might take time to show up in the profile. We'll see if that's actually the case. A lot of this trauma comes from the fact that most fighting games online are really shit at online, and they don't properly count a rage quit as a win for the person getting disconnected. So essentially what the rage quitters are trying to do is that past history with most fighting games is you might not be getting the points yourself for rage quitting, but what you're doing is you're preventing the winner from getting their points. So if you're competing for the top 20 spot and you are number 21 going up against number 22, you can rage quit against them, prevent them from getting the points from you, and scumbag your way into the credits. So that was what we were seeing at the top level. This is sweat versus sweat crime here. Sweat v sweat rage quitting here, okay? Rage quitters rage quit at every level. I don't want to hear this like it's just beginners doing it. It's not just beginners. It's people who have bad sportsmanship. It's just antisocial bad sportsmanship. That's all it is. And that occurs no matter the skill level. It's inherent to the personality, not to the skill level. It's something that I think gets lost in this discourse. So, yeah, we saw it at the top level as well.
I do think, I don't know, because I do think there's a lot of people who are just turning on that game. Obviously, they have like no fighting game prowess. They never played a fighting game before in their life. And for them, I do feel like maybe I like the show. I like Invincible. Invincible's cool. Watched a couple of seasons. I'm just little Timmy trying to play, mash some buttons, play as my favorite character. And then, like you said, some sweat guys putting me in an infinite cutscene. Then it feels like I'm actually watching the show because I can't even play the game anymore. And I'm getting screwed over. So, I don't know. I remember when I first saw Invincible was announced, I was like, I think this game would do like 10 times better if it was like a Spider-Man PS4 kind of game where like you have an open world and you're just kind of like flying around doing like superhero stuff. And then I saw it was a fighting game, and then I was like, yeah, it's kind of weird because I know everyone who's just fans of the show is going to get very upset, and I'm not surprised this is actually happening.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this ties back to the auto combo thing. And like I said, you're going to have two complete beginners. I guarantee you a lot of the rage quitting is between two brand new players fighting each other. I guarantee you. Player A mashed auto combo the entire time. Player B was not tuned in to the mashing auto combo the entire time strat. And they were put into an infinite movie because they don't understand anything about the game, while player A's is mashing L the entire time. They're both equally as new and uninformed and bad about the game. They're both terrible, but one of them is putting the other one in an infinite loop. And then player B rage quits against another fellow noob. Like that for sure was happening. There were rage quits at all levels. I had people in my YouTube comments saying like I'm bad at fighting games. People are rage quitting on me. I saw clips of other like more casual fighting game streamers getting rage quits. It's not just pros or sweats against new players causing the rage quits. It's at all levels of play. And I think at low level, fighting games can become very uninteractive between two equally new players if one person happens to stumble into an easy, spammable, degenerate strategy versus the other. Like, that can happen. And that's the danger of auto combos, I think, is you're going to have these situations where people are saying, oh, I rage quit because I'm in an infinite loop, even though, let's be real, they're just not blocking at the end of the combo. Like, they don't understand that concept. Like, they clearly don't understand how to resume gameplay after being penalized by being put into a combo. They just get looped because they don't get that interaction point. And yeah, that causes a terrible, painful experience. And that's where the rage quits come from. So it's not just only about bad matchmaking. It's also just the nature of auto combos in a tag game where you can have really long offensive pressure.
Yeah, but fighting games are just bad. I mean, fighting games in general are just bad for that. Funny enough, I actually do think a lot of multiplayer games in general are bad for that as well. There's a lot of uninteractive multiplayer games. If you play Deadlock and you're bad at it, you're not playing the game. But to me, that's kind of why I think for most people, and why I keep bringing up, I think Invincible would have been better single player. A lot of single player games just kind of get away with it. If the Tree Sentinel's kicking your ass in Elden Ring, you can just go back and fight the Tree Sentinel, and you use infinite number of run back. So it's much different for him nowadays. It's much different in multiplayer games, and why I think making single player games is kind of a lot better. Even for like the past couple of game of the year, or like the games people praise a lot, it's always single player. The last time a multiplayer game actually won was like Overwatch. So people are just scared to play other human beings, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough with the psychology of that and the lack of the ability to retry, and getting over that hump is always terrible. Speaking of Overwatch, I watched Jeff Kaplan, the lead designer of Overwatch and all that. Like, he did a podcast, the Lex Friedman podcast, whatever. I finally bit the bullet and watched one of those because he was on there, and he had an interesting point about his time in Overwatch and talking about matchmaking specifically. And he said, well, most people say that they want a good, even match. And that's the goal of matchmaking, to try to like pair people up with equal skill level so you have a satisfying, even match between two players. And it's not a stomp either way. And his remark there was like, well, actually what people mean when they say that is they want mostly even match, but they want to win 65% of the time.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, that's the reality. He's like, look, the data shows we're giving you even matches because you're winning 50% of the time. But psychologically, that is too painful for most people. Like, we're loss adverse creatures. So a 50% win rate is fucking garbage for our psyche. And so it's always almost a really difficult problem to solve. And once you go to the absolute beginner level where all variables are like the beginning level of any multiplayer game is like this primordial soup, especially for a genre you've never played before. You have no idea what's going to emerge as the dominant strategy against two complete noobs going up against each other. You have no clue. Put two brand new players who have never touched a fighting game in a round of Street Fighter, and you're going to see like the most strange divergent evolution of gameplay that you've ever seen before. And one strategy might reign supreme in that wood rank experience, right? And you can't account for that in the matchmaking. All the players are fucking garbage. They're all terrible. They're new. They don't know what they're doing. But one person might beat all of their asses. Is that a bad matchmaking experience? I don't know if the matchmaking can't solve that. Like, the only goal you can do is like try to rank them up quick and get them out of that lobby or get them into the next tier of matchmaking. But that's going to be a constant painful onboarding experience. And if people are just going to rage quit constantly, I do think that something needs to be done in terms of the product to like, hey, you're banned. Like, I do think the product needs to step in and like, I think this is a place where MK did a great job. Quitality, like, give a reward for the person getting rage quit against, and then also like, hey, you're rage quitting a lot. Like, you're gonna get tanked in your rank, and then eventually you're gonna get timed out. Like, finish the game because it's 30 seconds of your time. So I do think the product has to handle it.
So a lot of games actually do that now, but there's so many people who quit. Or they'll just make another account. Like I said, if you rage quit too much in like a Marvel Rivals, you'll get banned. Like I said, it'd be like, yo, stop quitting. You're not gonna be able to play for like a day, 2 days, a week, etc. So like those games do it, but then another account, I'm gonna stop playing. And I don't think anyone wants people to stop playing fighting games because we already have not that many people to play with anyway.
Right. That's true. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough problem to solve. It did get me to reconsider my feelings about, like, surrendering, though. It did make me consider, like, I guess I could get on board with a surrender option because, one part of me is like, dude, it's literally 30 seconds. Just get over it. Like, that's my pure emotional reaction is like, shut the fuck up and deal with it. Like, but I'm trying to be nice. I'm trying to be nice to you, okay? I do understand a surrender option. Like, if you're tilting, if the matchmaking is actually that bad, which is, I think, the highest priority, of course, is matchmaking has to be on point. Like, that is for sure. You don't want this mixed match of a player level. But maybe a surrender option, I suppose, and then make it entertaining. A lot of games have surrender options, but generally that's because they're a much longer
30,
commitment.
45-minute long game. Yeah, you're playing for much longer.
Yeah, so I could at least get behind that. Like, add a more graceful way for people to forfeit, because it's so frustrating otherwise. It was really a bad experience. Like, playing the beta was a really not fun experience. I mean, it was funny a little bit, but it was exasperating. I got so many rage quits, and I am bad at the game. I was not good. I can't imagine the good players actually how many rage quits they got. Maybe it slowed down because they would rank up and fight other more competent players and it'd be more rare. But in my first day of playing the beta for a couple hours, I got at least 5 or 6 rage quits. And on top of the matchmaking bugs and all that, like, it really limited the number of games I got because people would rage quit quick. Like, the moment you showed that you know how to do a combo, they would rage quit. Or you got one character and they're like, that's it, I'm out. They hit confirm that shit. Some people waited to the end, and when it was close and they're about to lose, then they pulled the plug, which I think is the biggest scumbag. That to me is the biggest scumbag rage quit. If you rage quit early, like, you're kind of a punk, but whatever. If you rage quit at the end, that's scumbag. You're a scumbag. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think I saw a lot of Twitter comments about it saying people just need to, find the fighting game that they really enjoy to, fight through the pain and try to want to keep playing. But
Dota Doya had that tweet.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty interesting, but I feel like a lot of new players to fighting games just don't have that. And even in Dragon Ball, when Dragon Ball first started, I used to get rage quit on all the time playing that game.
Yeah, that's going to happen. I think it's growing pains, and I think it's fine to have that. I think this is the issue with doing these fighting game betas, is that you don't have the rest of the single player content. And just basically, I've just really hardened my stance of the gameplay. I do agree with you that the gameplay, we've had this discussion about how much does the gameplay matter. I think I on our spectrum, I think gameplay matters a little bit more than you do at the lower level. But I do agree that we need to stop designing around like player retention for lower level, because I think a lot of the features we add end up actually making it worse. Like I was mentioning, the light auto combos. I think that actually makes the experience probably worse for low level players. Overall, auto combos on whiff, it's too degen. But at the end of the day, no matter how simple you make it, no matter how much you try to create features to onboard players, they're gonna rage quit. They're going to get lost and they're going to quit because people don't want to lose. So find other ways to keep people entertained and to have them, want to engage with your product. I think that's the biggest takeaway.
If the fighting game genre is trying to fix the rage quit problem, then that's the worst. That's the last genre that should be trying to do that. Any other game could fix. Any other genre could fix that.
Do you think it's gotten worse with is like an age demographic thing? Like we're getting old. I had a thought about that.
I think it's pretty normal. If you're having a bad experience, why experience it in the first place? I might as well just quit.
But was this as relevant in older gaming communities?
When I used to play COD in 2009, everyone was still rage quitting. If somebody called the AC 130, they were out of there.
Yeah. I'm trying to check my bias here. It's making me wonder, like, are the kids wrong or am I out of touch? I'm getting to that point. My status kicking in.
I 100% think even back in the day, it was just like that. For some of us weirdo, we would fight through the pain. Obviously that's how you got better at the game. You would be like, what is this guy doing? So he's beating my ass, so he must be doing something right. And then you would want to learn from that guy. But for other people, it's just like, yo, this guy's better than me. I'm not going to sit here and waste my time. Let me get out of here and find a new game.
I guess now that I'm thinking about it, I remember I played Halo 2 and Halo 3 heavy. But I was never one to quit. But I do remember when my teammates would start falling off. And I'm like, nah, man. like you're playing the 4v4 and one person quits. And then you're like, please don't go to the other two. And the second guy quits. And you're like, hey, man, it's just me and you, buddy. Come on. Hang on in there. But I guess, maybe I was weird. Even if I was the last one, I would kind of just fuck around. Like that would become an opportunity to play hide and seek with the other four. Like it would kind of be like a weird break. Like the game's over. You lost. And I would kind of just like troll with them and then lose. But I never quit. Maybe I'm just a weirdo. I never quit out. I kind of just hung out in the lobby until the game ended.
I think that's the fighting game players in us. That's like, hey, okay, my team might be ass, everyone might have left, but you can either do something funny or there's something to take away from that.
Yeah. Maybe I was just always destined to go down this route. I don't know. I would get pissed at my teammates, but I wouldn't quit. I'd just be like, oh, fuck it, game's over. Yeah, so rage quitting and Invincible versus. Do we have any more takeaways from this? I think the main thing is, I think the people defending rage quits to like saying it's like justified or whatever. Listen, no, it's not. It's just not. I just think they can do things. The developers have a responsibility to do better matchmaking, but to say that this is only a case of people rage quitting against the pros, no. Time out, brother. Rage quitters rage quit against scrubs, against pros, in close matches and stomps and beatdowns. It doesn't matter. Rage quitters are going to rage quit. That's an internal issue that they have. The developers need to do their best to create proper matchmaking to quickly isolate players to their level and try to provide an even match experience. But at the end of the day, people are going to rage quit. It has nothing to do with the game. I think it's just, it's internal. But maybe we can add a forfeit function and a quitality. Maybe quitality was the number one thing we should learn from Mortal Kombat.
I would hate a surrender or a forfeit in like a fighting game because it's 2 minutes. Unless it's like, I'm in burnout and I legit can't do anything. Or like I'm about to get chipped out from full screen by Happy Chaos. Or like, I'm no X Factor and there's no way of me making a comeback. That's when I would surrender. But if it's like, damn, I got hit by 0, surrender. Like, what are we doing? This is stupid.
hey, that's Marvel 3 culture right there. What you talking about? Flux versus Coach Steve? Flux versus Coach Steve. He got grabbed round start, instant rage quit, add 1 to the board, move on, GG, no, go next. Come on, man. That's some Marvel culture. That's a classic.
That to me, I think that's bad. If it's like legitimate, like, okay, you're probably not winning this, then it's like, I get it. But I don't even like that rage quit. You still have Virgil Anchor. You still have a chance.
Yeah, I mean, it was a rage quit. He was tilted. But
yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, would you rather people rage quit on you then? You're going up against a rage quitter. They're going to quit one way or the other. Would you rather them rage quit or use a surrender functionality?
It's too, like I said, I don't want either, but it's 2 minutes. It's 2 minutes. Sometimes these modern fighting games aren't even 2 minutes. They're like 1 minute nowadays.
You have to choose. You have to choose. They're going to quit. You are a sweats because you know how to play the game, and they're going to quit. Would you rather them rage quit or surrender? At that point, I'm thinking like maybe give them a surrender.
I guess. I don't know. I feel like you're just gonna surrender literally the first hit every single time. Then it's gonna get annoying because you boot up one match, the guy surrender. You boot up the next match, guy surrenders. Then you can't even play the game.
That was the beta, Idom. I don't know if
you're getting full matches though. Like the guy might have rage quit at the end.
They were rage quitting after 1 combo.
No, but you said that guy quit on you like at the end of the match, like right when you're about to win.
One of them,
fine.
which was a classic OG rage quit. He gimmicked me the first game because I didn't know how to counter tag. I didn't read the tutorial. Okay, chat was my tutorial. They said, hey, you press medium and heavy to counter tag. The second game, I counter tagged him every time and I won. And then he rage quit. To me, listen, I kind of popped off on that one. That's a rage quit that makes me feel good because I downloaded your ass and you're salty about it. Hold that shit, right? Like, that's a good old fashioned rage quit. The ones that drive me nuts are you get 1 hit and they rage quit.
Yeah,
that drives me nuts.
That's the worst. I think that's worse.
And that was happening constantly. That was a constant experience for a lot of players in the beta.
I think the takeaway from this is Invincible should have been a Spider-Man kind of game, a single player game. I think it would have been much better to me.
Yeah, we'll see. They do have single player content. I don't know what it's going to look like or how in depth it's going to be. So we'll see. I do feel like this is almost like tanking the perception of Invincible Versus. I wonder how much this will affect sales because a lot of people are saying like, oh, I'm going to refund the order. This game is for sweats. You have to. You get mashed on the whole time, and you're stuck in an infinite cutscene with these infinite combos. So it's a little tough. I gotta imagine the Invincible devs are like feeling the heat a little bit. Like shit, the casuals are not vibing with this. So I don't know. I don't know if they're maybe regretting their decision a little bit.
To be fair, betas are always like that. Even for like non-fighting games, if you play a beta and people have a bad experience on the beta, a lot of like betas honestly are just taking chances, to be honest. But if the beta's good, people buy your game. Like Overwatch. Overwatch popped off because they had a great beta.
Right, that's the problem too. So they probably genuinely need the infrastructure testing. That's usually the first goal of the beta, and now betas have become essentially demos. To probably the chagrin of the developers, they probably don't want it to be perceived that way. They want it to just be an infrastructure test. But the devs they're definitely listening. They were publicly stating that they're listening to a lot of feedback, especially from people talking about specific issues of the gameplay, things like the safe unblock DPs and the weird. A lot of things are weirdly safe in this game. It's pretty ham. So maybe for the core FGC audience, the product can be improved a little bit and people will like the changes. It'll have to be determined if this will be the next DBFZ, where the game has that much allure, that much pull with the IP, the single-player content, where it somehow manages to become a massive hit, despite the fact that it's brutal for incoming players to get into the FGC and play a 3v3 tag fighter. DBFZ did it. I think people are trying to recreate that magic. My vibe is that Invincible Versus won't do that. That is my vibe right now. However, I would love to be wrong. I would love to see somehow this turns around. Invincible is really popular right now, so it might be the one. We'll have to see. The devs have a big challenge ahead of them, though. So you got any final thoughts on Invincible Versus? Anything to get out there?
I hope that game does good. I don't wish any bad things upon any fighting game. I hope every fighting game finds their audience, and I hope Invincible does the same.
Very politically correct there, Adam. I like your
I,
I like your navigation of this topic.
I'm not gonna say anything bad about a fighting game. That's how we got me into the DNF situation.
What about the Street Fighter 6 situation? Never say anything bad about a fighting game.
I've never say anything bad about. The only bad thing I've ever said about any fighting game has only been DNF, but that game's actually terrible.
I had way more fun with DNF than a lot of other fighting games that have come out recently. I had a lot more fun with DNF. I know you hate DNF, but DNF was one of the most fun bubblegum fighting games I've ever played, man. You just don't want to chew on it for too long, you know? Just get your fill, and then when it's done, you're done. You know, move on. All right, speaking of fighting games and their reception, Strive 2.0, man. You've been playing it? I haven't checked out the update, but I've been seeing a lot of the discussion around it, and it's, like, by and large, one of the most well-received major updates to a fighting game title I've seen in years.
I've been playing a lot of 2.0, and I've got to say, that was exactly what I was expecting. They fixed a lot of the jank stuff. I do have a few critiques, but overall, like, the characters feel like more new and refreshed. A lot of characters got new tools to play with. You know, Testament got double stain. There's a lot more nuance to the characters now, and it kind of like upgraded their kit to, you know, give every character something just new, more exciting to do. There are some bugs. Testament's Crow doesn't work right. Eno's dive kick is punishable on hit. Happy Chaos has an infinite. But aside from all that stuff, it's pretty good. I do think a lot of people have been having fun. I've been watching a lot of, you know, streamers play, and they've been like, yo, I like this character, and, you know, just having genuine fun playing a fighting game.
There's been a couple of people who have provided negative feedback to the patch, so I want to get your perspective on this.
Okay.
I did see, you know, maybe a couple Potemkin players talking about the changes, because Potemkin, his command grab had armor before and also beat throws, and it no longer has either of those properties. Yeah. So I saw some people, you know, saying maybe that was too far. What do you think about that?
I have seen some people, and this is also what I was scared of, with a couple of nerfs, and then like you're back to grappler versus zoner. Axel, funny enough, is probably one of the better characters in the game right now. And you know, when the games get slower and less degenerate, the zoner is going to prosper. So I have seen that complaint that Axel's getting too good, and you know, Axel might kind of hurt a lot of the characters, because now it's like, hey, if I lose to Axel, I might just lose because I can't interact with him. So that's a bad thing, you know. I will say that's not great, you know. Maybe strong system mechanics help dodge that, but that's just how fighting games are, in my opinion. That always goes back to, that's just how fighting games are. I can't really do anything about that.
Right. So if you run into an Axel, you should just rage quit.
Oh my god. Well,
learn from the Invincible people, man. Just dodge the bad matchup. Well, what are you doing?
That's just like, I can't get mad at that, because that's just how fighting games work. If you're playing Axel, and you know, people shouldn't play Axel because they're bad people, but that's I can't. That's the genre. That's the shitty genre we play.
Very true. Very true. The other thing I saw was, at first, a lot of people were celebrating the redesign for Happy Chaos. However, it seemed like, you know, there was an infinite discovered, which might be like a bug that they should address. But then people were starting to, even Leffen himself was starting to change his tune. Like, actually, this rework is still broken in these XYZ ways, and it's still top tier. So at first, everyone's like, yes, the evil is dead. Oh, wait, no, is this back in another form? So can you walk through, like, the redesign and what people thought it was going to end up and where it is now? Because it's been a weird thing to observe from the outside looking in.
Well, I still think Happy Chaos is probably weaker than the original patch. I do think the Infinite obviously has to go. But
can you explain the Infinite really quick? Like, how does that operate a little bit?
If Happy Chaos puts you in the corner, well, they changed his reload. So now if he reloads once, like, it'll reload all his bullets. And he has a new move where, like, there's like a portal of bullets around you. So if he gets to like a perfect spacing, he'll just like infinite block string you, because he'll just shoot, reload, and you're just like stuck in the corner, and you'll just be stuck there for like infinite block string. You try to jump, you'll get hit. If you try to move, you'll just get it.
That's from the new move they added for him for this patch. So the new move uses all his bullets, and then he can reload during it and then do it again.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that seems like an oversight. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm saying. It's like, to me, but I like stuff like that because it's like they've Arxon's already addressed it. It's like, okay, yeah, we probably shouldn't have done that, but they're gonna patch this out maybe like sometime next week. I'd rather have, maybe we fucked up maybe somewhere, but at least they'll go back on it. I'd rather have those kind of changes. But
Getting your Street Fighter 6 agenda in here one way or the other. You rather the developers swing for the fences and then clean up after, rather than like not actually take a swing at anything at all. Right.
It's a cool new move. I didn't expect an infinite to happen, but it's a cool new move.
Right.
But it's also, I feel like a lot of his like toxic stuff. Like one thing I hated fighting with Happy Chaos is he'll jump to the top of the screen, and then when you try to anti-air him, you'll shoot, but you can no longer shoot in the air because that was annoying, and it would beat your anti-air, and then you'll get a full combo. So they fixed that, but he's less toxic to fight. I do think there are some things that he gotten that's really strong with the new move, and I think the new move is doing a lot. Same with Nago, but overall, I think the addition of new moves is cool. You get a new toy to play with.
Yeah. Okay. So you think overall, even though he's not totally dead, it was still a move in the right direction. Like,
Yeah.
he's less toxic overall. Interesting. Yeah, because I saw both, like, oh my god, he's dead. Oh my god, he's broken. And then maybe now it's like somewhere in the middle, like he's really good, but not as broken as he used to be. But overall, I've been seeing mostly really positive reception. People are even making comments about how different the playing experience was. Like, Strive, I think recently its peak 24 hours was something like the 11K concurrent player count on Steam, which is really high for a fighting game. How many years? It's 5 years now, right?
Yeah, 5 years.
5 years in for a non-Street Fighter, non-Tekken title to reach that level of concurrent player count, way beyond Tekken 8 on Steam, only being rivaled by Street Fighter, and even then, like, that's only Street Fighter 6 now because of Japan. Like, that's beyond Street Fighter 5 numbers by far. That's really big for a fighting game to have that many concurrent players. So there seems to be like a rejuvenation from this patch in the community.
I think the patch did a lot of what people were complaining about. I think, like, I know it's kind of like, that doesn't happen anymore, but they took throw PRC is gone. The matches are a lot less steamrolly because of when you break the wall with super, you get a hard knockdown, but you're not getting, infinite positive bonus. So they fixed that. Now there's kind of a mind game. You can't wall slump anymore. Like, a lot of the things that people were just like, this is kind of dumb or this is kind of stupid, is kind of just gone. There are, like I said, to me, I feel like it's a huge step in the right direction. There are a lot of bugs. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of bugs. There's a lot of bugs I can complain about. But everything else is, like, when you actually play the game, it feels nice, feels good.
When's the last time we've seen a big balance update that was very positively received? Like, when's the last one I can really think of is, like, obviously Street Fighter bias. I'm thinking like Champion Edition, Season 4, Street Fighter 5. I don't know if that's not to the scale of a 2.0, but like the late balance patches for Street Fighter 5. But has there been anything for Tekken or any other title in recent years?
Maybe DBFZ Season 3, but that's kind of it. I'm trying to actually think. That was the one where they got rid of the fuzzy, like, people getting, like, snapback loops.
Snap meta.
Yeah. They got rid of that. But that's kind of the only other game I can really think of. Like, 6 hasn't really had that. Tekken 8. Tekken 8 hasn't really had that.
This, to me, might be giving credence to the idea that, maybe the people crave the bundled update. We've shifted as consumers to the season, the drip feed of seasonal changes. But they finally took this moment to be like, okay, big update, 2.0 version change, boom, massive changes, which we haven't seen in a long time.
I feel like fighting games actually need to go back to, normal games have this, but like expansions. Like, just give me an expansion. I don't want, like, here's one character. Do I like this character? No. Okay, I'm never playing them. Yes. Okay. Is this character meta relevant? Yes. Okay, and then I could keep playing them. No. Oh, I'm not playing this character still. I'd rather just have an expansion of just like, oh, here's 4 to 6 characters, big update. Play with this. You got 6 to 12 months to have fun with this, and we'll see you when we see you.
I kind of agree with that, but also it's not contradictory to your position about Street Fighter 6, where you want them to move quicker.
No, but they put it because if I got 4 to 6 characters every 6 months, and it was like a big actual massive change, and not like, oh hey, we made this one move plus 1 to 0, then like that's nothing. But like Strive change, I think there's like 5 or 6 system mechanic changes that they did as well, not just character stuff.
Yeah, but this is after 5 years, so you still want more frequent changes.
No, but we still got wall assault in between that. We got full screen burst in between that. We still got a lot other system mechanic changes.
Okay, right. Because I'm just trying to draw the comparison of you could almost make the argument that doing a bundled version change and no changes in between would mean a whole year of nothing changing. But then it's funny. I think about that for Street Fighter 6. That's what they do anyways. They do a year of no changes, and then they barely do changes also at the end of the year.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem, because like even 5 was like that. When Street Fighter 5 season 1 to 2 was like, it was nothing, and then like when season 2 came out, it was like, wow, season 2 is pretty big, and that's all I really want. It's just 6 hasn't had the wow, that was really big change yet.
Yeah, I mean, there has been some impactful changes. I think the perfect parry changes were decent, but in general, it's been mostly pretty stagnant. And we don't got to go down that debate for the 10 billionth time. We'll spare the listeners from us talking in circles about Street Fighter 6 balance changes. But it's really interesting to see how positive the reception has been for the Strive community. So shout outs to Strive players, man. Hopefully you're enjoying playing the game, and I'm interested in seeing like the next big major for that, just to see. A lot of people returning to the game and being excited about playing it. Should be fun to watch.
Flashback actually was just this weekend, and Red Ditto went over Jonathan Tene, but there was a lot of like new characters. The top 8 felt super refreshing. Grand Finals was still Red Ditto winning, which not really surprising. But it was like 2 Bedmans, Axel, Unicas, a lot more varied characters.
Oh, really?
The top 8. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Well, shout out to Strive community. Enjoy the updates. Hey, we'll get right back to the discussion, but first, I'm proud to thank today's sponsor, Victrix. I've been using the Victrix Pro KO leverless controller as my daily driver for at-home practicing and for traveling to tournaments for over a year now, and I honestly love this controller. And now Victrix is refreshing their look with the classic throwback with the Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition design. This hits all the marks for me for a leverless controller, starting with just the build of it. It's the perfect blend of being large enough to sit on your lap with ample wrist room and maintaining an ergonomic button design while also still being extremely portable. But I think the biggest thing is how forward-thinking the features of this controller really are. The aluminum top plate has a customizable button layout so that you can get the configuration that you prefer. Also, the extra buttons and components and the tool to swap the buttons are literally stashed inside the controller itself. Me personally, I like to use an extra thumb button here for easy access to Street Fighter 6 parry macro. The customization, of course, extends to the fashion because you can completely customize the LED configuration for the controller as well. So if you're interested as well, you can head over to the link in the pinned comment or description and use coupon code BrianF at checkout for 10% off. Using the BrianF checkout code does help support me and the Trash Talk podcast, so I would really appreciate it. And thanks again to Victrix for sponsoring this episode. Okay, back to the discussion. Speaking of updates, we do have some changes to the Capcom Pro Tour. We got the 2026 Capcom Pro Tour season update, and not too much of a shakeup. I mean, there are some minor differences from the previous season. I'll give a quick rundown of some of the changes. First off, of course, World Warrior is still the main way people are qualifying to the Capcom Pro Tour, Capcom Cup. 24 players from the World Warrior. This time, though, they mostly got rid of entirely the concept of a super region, where a super region had 2 players qualifying from that region, where all the other regular regions had 1. The only super region that remains is Japan. Every other region gets 1 player only qualifying. And that's always a big point of contention. And I didn't really like the super region addition because it led to a lot of infighting, I felt like, because people would fight over, oh, my region deserves a super region, my region deserves 2 spots and your region doesn't. And then it got really weird. Like last year there was only 3 super regions: China, Japan, and UK, which was fucking random because UK has far less entrants. Like if you're trying to scale it based on anything, you might think the number of entrants to the tournament. China is up there for sure, and it's a huge country. And then Japan, of course, has like 5x the next biggest region in terms of player entrants, or maybe more, sometimes 10x. So it made sense for Japan. And then UK was like, huh? Like they got a lot of good players there, don't get me wrong, but they don't have that many entrants compared to many other regions of the world. So it led to like bickering about that. So I'm kind of on board with there only being Japan for a super region. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think NAE should still be a super region. We have what?
Okay.
four Capcom Cup champions. If you count Meta twice, you got like, well, 3 Evo champions. I think if you count Meta twice, you got like 3 Capcom Cup. Yeah, you got like 3 Evo runner up. Like, what are we saying? NAE should be a super region.
See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? The bickering that it becomes this whole mudslinging and piss measuring contest between each region about who deserves it more.
Contrast is true. It's true. I don't mind Japan.
You get what I'm saying, man. Like, it leads to this weird. It makes it feel, instead of like a unifying force, it makes it feel like a force to kind of mudsling to other regions. That's I've grown to feel that way a little bit about the super region concept because it's not equally distributed. And so I kind of vibe with that change. They also added Chile as a region, so shout out to Chile. They're showing some support to Blas, the new megastar in the FGC in his region. So they were added, so that they're being pulled away from the South America. What are they? South America West region, or no? They're South America East. So they're being pulled out of that, and they have their own region now. So shout out to Chile. But there's still some issues with that. Of course, a lot of players were complaining from North Africa. Big Bird was talking on Twitter about how Egypt is being lumped in with the Middle East, but it's a giant geographical region and their connections don't even work. And so basically, like, Capcom's kind of neglecting their geography lessons for the Middle East and North Africa, and they're making them play like 1 bar 240 ms connections that don't work, and sometimes they can't even connect with each other. They have to flip a coin to decide who progresses in the brackets because it literally just cannot connect the players. And North Africa as a whole still doesn't have any way to qualify. So there's still parts of the world that aren't being served fairly from the World Warrior. So there could be some improvements there, but I would say this is a small step in the right direction. But it's weird that they don't just make another spot.
Make one more. Yeah, get rid of the Japan Super Region and give North Africa their spot. Easy fix.
True. They did one for Chile. Yeah. Can they make one more? Yeah, I do think this program has to be a lot more egalitarian, like just like very equal. Otherwise, it causes like a lot of people feeling left out. I think that's the one downside that the World Warrior has cropped up, is this feeling of neglect from certain parts of the world. But that said, we also have more players qualifying from offline. 16 offline players from CPT. This time there's going to be 9 tournaments, so there's still the first place winner will auto-qualify to Capcom Cup, and then the rest of the placings will give points to the CPT leaderboard, and then 7 players will place from the CPT leaderboard if they don't get that first place position. So those tournaments are going to be Evo Japan, Combo Breaker, Blink Respawn back on there, Evo Vegas, and then new to the CPT for the first time in a while, they might have been CPT back in the day, BAM 16 in Australia is back on the map, so it's cool to see Australia be back on there. I mean, there used to be BAM. What was the other big Australian tournament that used to be pretty big for Street Fighter?
It was something Melbourne.
There's Melbourne Showdown, I believe. There's Shadaloo Showdown is what I'm thinking of.
There was something. I don't remember that.
There was a Melbourne tournament. There was also Shadaloo Showdown. But it's cool to see BAM back on CPT as a premier status. So that's awesome to see. Then we have CEO and Evo France. So we got 3 Evos already for the premieres. And then there's 2 more tournaments that are TBD, to be determined, which is kind of random. Not done yet.
I think that's strange because, like, usually, people are obviously planning, but there's also no tournament in, like, Europe. I know they have Kings of the World, they have Evo France, but that's still just an Evo. It's not like a homegrown tournament, basically, in Europe. Like, I mean, this mix up our UFA, basically.
Right. Well, this is what we talked about, right? Evo is going global, and they're going to be suffocating out all these tour spots and centralizing a lot of the action. Like, we're going to keep seeing that. Evo France has already taken over from the mix-up and UFA. UFA used to be the CPT Premier. They're not even on there anymore, right? Mm-hmm. Like, that's going to happen. Also, what's missing is still no tournament in South America. I feel like that's something that's got to change. The pre-COVID CPT in Street Fighter V era, there were so many ranking events. There was tournaments all over the world, including tournaments in South America. There's a lot of offline action all over the world. A lot of these regional events and major events have, of course, just dried up. The way the economy's going, the centralizing of the events in the community. Unfortunately, a lot of these events didn't survive. But I feel like, yeah, like we should get this list. While they added Australia is cool. It's very safe. It's what we've had. Of course, I love like Blink Respawn being on there, but I do feel like it's time. Like put something in South America. Like Brazil would be crazy, right? Like Brazil is one of the largest CPT regions, and they have so many strong players, and they're one of the biggest regions in general for Street Fighter. So I just think that there would be something great there. I like that, for example, they did China last CPT season. So we'll see what they do with the last two. I think one of the ways that they can help solve the issue with the World Warrior, and a lot of players, they have trouble traveling. They can't get access to visas. They can't get into certain countries. A way to help mitigate that is to just distribute the tournaments a little bit more globally and more easily accessible to more players from around the world. So, like, a lot of players in South America maybe can't get visas. Other countries can come to America. Put a premiere there, man. Find a way to do something out there. There's events that exist that can do that. So that's one critique I would have. But what do you think? Any thoughts about the tournament offline listing?
I mean, I'm very curious to see what the two TBD tournaments are. Like I said, I feel like one could obviously be in South America. I think that would be great. But I'm still surprised. I feel like Europe's been kind of getting disrespected, maybe shafted a bit, because like I get Evos there, but I do think there's a lot of Europe's nice, and there's a lot of cool events that could be had and could be out there. I know Europe's more of a Tekken region now more than Street Fighter, because I hear Tekken's way more popular there from Harada, but even then I still think they got have Street Fighter tournaments there.
Yeah, I mean France is still huge for Street Fighter. It's one of the biggest Street Fighter regions for sure. So they got Evo France. I mean, they do have Evo France. Like they got something. I mean, the weird thing is like USA still has like 3 events. Like I'm as incredible as all those events are, I am starting to get the sense of like, yeah, it's kind of with so few spots to go and the state of the world right now. I'm like,
Wait. Combo Breaker and CEO though. Those are 2 of the greatest tournaments I've been to. Yeah, I never have a bad time when I go there.
They are. In terms of prestige, quality, and delivering for the players, like they're the 2 best maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
So like I think it's unfortunate for the tour that it's so centralized in the US. That's why I think like hopefully we can find ways to add more events. In general, I just want more offline. I want more events and more equally distributed globally.
All I'm scared of is I hope the 2 TBD tournaments are just not Evo. 2 Evos, like 2 different Evos somewhere else. You're like, oh, here's Evo Singapore and Evo. I don't know.
Well, I don't think those are happening. I'm a little fuzzy on the schedule. I don't think those are happening this year. I think it's 2027. Those will kick in. So
you're
right? Yeah, because there's like the Evo Legends event with Menardi Daigo. Where the hell is that? That must be at Evo France or Evo Japan. Excuse me. But I think they're kicking in the actual Evo tournaments, expanding starting next year. What I expected is some kind of CPT event, like CPT Chengdu, right? Like latching onto something. I don't know. We'll see how they settle that. But there is more offline events, though. Of course, they also have Esports World Cup 2026. They specify that as a special tournament, not as part of the CPT. Because only first place from that will qualify. They don't give points for the other placements, probably because it's like the single elim format, so the point distribution would be messed up compared to a normal double elim in top 8. And we already have 5 qualifiers to Capcom Cup already. Of course, Capcom Cup 12 champion Sahara, he's qualified straight into Capcom Cup 13. And then Street Fighter League World Championships, they're still qualifying them into the Capcom Cup, which was kind of a blow up last year because all of Good 8 Squad got eliminated in the first round. And even Kawano, who was like, the star, I would say, of Good 8 Squad, the MVP, was like, oh, sorry for slacking off and not going to tournaments last year because I qualified. I'm going to lock in.
That's what I kind of think is a bad thing too. You're kind of just letting, you're letting people slack off. I don't know if like Sahara, Daigo, Tokido, Fudo, or Lashar is going to go to any events this year because they're already qualified. No reason to really travel.
Yeah, we'll see. Like you mentioned, that was Team Rejects. Daigo, Tokido, Lashar, Fudo. They all qualified for Capcom Cup. I would expect most of those people to go. I get the impression that Daigo tends to travel as like his duty as being an ambassador. I think he feels that way. We saw Lashar do CEO and combo breaker back to back after qualifying. I would suspect of any of the players to auto qualify, those four would be among the most I trust to still show up a little bit.
I don't know. I don't think Sahara really traveled that much, and I actually don't think maybe Fuda. I don't think Fuda would travel that much either, to be honest.
I mean, he still went to. I mean, I guess maybe once he qualified, he didn't go as much, but he still went to Evo.
Yeah, Evo's Evo.
Well, he showed up a little bit. And Sahara, after he qualified from UFA, he still went to, or he still entered all the World Warriors. He was still beating ass in World Warrior.
That's entirely different.
He still shows.
You're playing from your home.
But he's not trying to hide tech. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't like trying to completely go, hermit mode and be reclusive and hide, right? Like, if anything, it's more like a Mena RD. Mena RD is a bit more like reclusive, like kind of picks and shoots when he wants to show up and show off his tech, right? Those players, I don't think they're more likely, I would suspect, to put a bit more effort to be public facing. At least I hope. But one point here, though, Daigo and Capcom Cup. This is the first time Daigo has qualified for a Capcom Cup since 2019. He did qualify in 2020, but that was the season that got canceled because of COVID, so he did the season finals exhibition first to 5 set. But we haven't seen Daigo in an offline Capcom Cup since 2019, and he's officially in. Maybe because he got a little bit of a help from his friends, especially Lashar over there, but he's in, man. Is that not a big deal?
I guess. I mean, I hope Daigo does well in Capcom Cup. I guess, question mark. I guess Lashar's not going to be there to kind of pick up the slack, but Daigo's there. I hope Daigo does something in the next Capcom Cup. We won't know until 2027 anyway. And
don't you think this is a big deal though?
No,
come on,
not
man.
Really. No, man. I don't think so.
You've told me directly on this podcast, I think, that if Daigo was in Capcom Cup, that would like double the viewership.
It's pay-per-view now. I can't even watch Daigo.
Yeah, well, no one's saying he's gonna make that top 8, top 16 anyways. I'm saying for group stages,
I gotta watch Daigo in the groups. I feel like the CPT kind of like the interest in CPT has been down since they announced pay-per-view. They didn't say anything yet, but even now I'm like, I'm already guessing the next CPT is gonna be pay-per-view.
Yeah. I mean, I still haven't watched top 16.
I don't even know what happened in top 16. I only know Sahara won.
Yeah, fucking terrible. I mean, it almost feels stupid talking about this shit when they're just going to do pay-per-view. It makes me really upset. Because Daigo being Capcom Cup should be a big deal. It should be a big deal.
I hope they don't do pay-per-view, but I still suspect them to do pay-per-view. They haven't really shown any signs of not doing it.
Listen, here's my fantasy, all right? Daigo, Mena RD. Daigo pulls off the win, 10-8, something crazy.
Okay.
He's locked in like fucking a madman, like for Capcom Cup. He's ready to go. Capcom realizes the error in their ways, cancels pay-per-view. Daigo's in top 16. That's it. The world needs to see this, all right? They unleash it to the masses on Twitch, on YouTube, Billy, TikTok Live, whatever it is. It's out there. And then we get to see one last dance. This is it.
This is the Michael Jordan documentary in real time for Daigo.
This is probably going to be Daigo's last Capcom Cup.
I don't think Daigo's going to stop playing. And who's to say he just doesn't get carried again next year at Capcom Cup? If they run it back with that team and Lashar still doing Lashar thing, it's still practically the same. I still think Lashar could just win a lot of the time. That's the beauty of Street Fighter League, that your favorites can still get in Capcom Cup if they're on the right team.
I guess. I guess.
If I was on Street Fighter League and I had a team of Punk, Do, and Mena, I feel like I would be in Capcom Cup.
That would be a pretty good team.
That would be a good team. I would never play though.
There'd be no match if they want a Manon.
Yeah, exactly. I would never play that. And I'll be right there, biggest cheerleader. This game's great. I'll be watching. With
keep the spirits high, man. We need a good cheerleader on every team. All right, let's see how Daigo does in Capcom Cup. That is pretty interesting. Other than that, they announced the pricing. Man, the pricing is pretty pathetic. So they still are doing the $1 million for first place for the Capcom Cup. And of course, I don't think we have the exact breakdown of the top 8 pricing, but it's going to fall off a cliff right after that. The Capcom Cup pricing total is $1,297,000. So $1 million of that goes to first place. So the rest of them are fighting for the $297,000. So it's going to be super top heavy again. But beyond that, Capcom Pro Tour 2026, the prize bonuses that they're giving to the premiers. First place premier, if you win a combo breaker, a CEO, Evo, how much is Capcom adding to the prize pool? $2,000.
Yeah, well, that's
for first place.
That's a lot of money.
Sorry, I said Evo. Capcom is giving no money for the Evos. Let me correct that. Evo's doing their own thing. They're only doing that for like the combo breakers, the blink respawns, the CEOs. $2,000 for first place, $1,500 for second, $1,000 for third, and $700 for fourth, and nothing beyond that. So that's the CPT bonus that they're giving out. So just to be clear, this is going to be on top of the normal prize pot. People pay $10 to enter the tournament. If 1,000 people enter, there's $10,000 into the prize pool. So they will divvy that up amongst the top players and then add to that the CPT prize bonus. But this has been declining more and more and more every year. And the funny thing is now, the World Warrior regional finals for the offline tournaments, it's the same pricing for first through fourth, except fifth placers and seventh placers also get money. So you actually have a higher chance. They're giving away more money for the World Warrior regional finals than the offline CPT premieres.
You want to hear something also crazy? And I never thought about it until you said it. I think I got more money for getting fifth in my World Warrior regional final than I got for getting fifth at Cream City. And I think it's the same money now. So you'll actually get more money if you get like fifth or seventh. And if you just stay at home and play online, than if you go and, beat some of the world's best. You may not get top 4, but if you get like fifth or seventh, you're actually going to get less money.
Well, you're losing money because you got this isn't covering the flight or the hotel.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Or the registration.
Traveling expenses, yeah.
Yeah. So the state of esports for the actual tour is insane. It's all top heavy. But also the big takeaway here is the ecosystem for Street Fighter esports is in the dumpsters, as far as I'm concerned, for being a tournament player. Like, this doesn't exist anymore. It's all about just the check at the end of Capcom Cup, $1 million headline to advertise for Capcom. There's no sustainability to be found anywhere else, and this is it's over. It's how I feel in that sense. However, what's not over is Street Fighter League. They upped the pricing for Street Fighter League from $100K for the first place team to $400K, and I think the minimum pricing now is $100K per team that qualifies into the Worlds, and it was like $30 or $40K before. So the pricing for Street Fighter League is going up and up and up, highlighting once again Capcom's focus, I think, on pivoting this all away from this open bracket, anyone can enter, anyone can qualify type of tour, to this more controlled, top-down Capcom esports product, which provides a little bit more sustainability for players who are essentially employed for a season. And Japan, once again, they get salaries, some of them, and they're actually employed by their teams. Teams might pay franchising fees. Capcom even sometimes gives teams money to help employ the players. Like, they're investing a lot in the Street Fighter League product. And it shows in the pricing commitments, because that's the only place where pricing has gone up 4x compared to every other aspect of the pricing, which has gone either stagnant or down. So Street Fighter League is, once again, I think that's the only path forward that Capcom is committing to.
I really think Capcom just has this idea of like, not open bracket tournaments are bad, but if you're controlling everything, you get to do whatever you want. You get your own ads, you get your own placement, everything's control. If anything Capcom related is ours. I'm not fighting for the last game if another game has just as many entrants. So I get it. I do think Street Fighter League is probably I don't want to say their way out, but like their smart way to pivot, especially with how big it is in Japan.
Yeah, I mean it's incredibly successful in Japan, and they're probably actually gonna potentially make some money off of that in Japan. And, they need a team for the Japanese team to beat up. So why not invest in the global? Like, throw them a bone elsewhere, because they need, they need Men RD to have a team for the Team Japan to beat in the end. So I think they're going to continue to invest in that direction, and it makes sense. Yeah, like they don't have to worry about their Street Fighter top 8 being delayed because Smash Ultimate is running over, or whatever it might be. And so I kind of get it from a business perspective, just having control of the ecosystem, but it makes me definitely sad to see. I still feel like by far I prefer the offline open bracket format, and Capcom I think is slowly trying to just pull away from controlling that and giving more and more of that influence over to like Saudi, Evo, Esports World Cup. Like that's becoming more and more that's going to take over that aspect of sort of like the singles tournaments, and like just that will be what's feeding into Capcom Cup so they can have that one moment. But what they want to really invest in and growing is the team aspect.
I super out of left field, spinfoil hat theory. Maybe they're doing Street Fighter League because they hear everyone say, yo, game's random, Johnny Donuts beat Tokido, whatever. Johnny Donuts beat Daigo. But if it's only Street Fighter League player, obviously if you got in a Street Fighter League, you're good enough. But if there's no more open bracket tournaments, there's no more upsets. No more upsets means game less random. Game less random equals more people playing. Boom, fixed it. Everything's fine. Street Fighter League's probably the better way to do that.
I agree with you're going a little too extreme. It's because people don't care about the randomness factor of the skill level of the game beyond like you, me, and a few random nerds. But you're onto something for sure. It's all about controlling the optics. If Daigo is consistently showing up week after week, that's far better for the retention and viewership than Daigo getting upset by a relatively unknown player and then that unknown player losing then to another good player right after, right? Like we talk about upsets, and we've mentioned very many times on the show, upsets are good for a moment, but they have to carry the storyline through to the finish line of an event for it to have weight that carries the viewer's retention across the entire moment. If it's just an upset that happens and then it's over, it's a flash in the pan, and it's interesting as a side note, but it doesn't carry to people being engaged because people like to know the stakes of why they're watching an event. And you build that by, having some kind of way to judge a player's level based on the known data points. So whoever causes that upset, if they keep showing up or they go all the way to the finish line, like a blah storyline, then it's like, holy shit, they're going to do it. That carries weight. But if you cause one upset early on and don't pull through, it ends up just hurting the star power of the later points in the bracket. And eventually that can lead to potentially less engagement from a larger audience. I'm not saying that's the way it should be. I'm just saying that that's a fact. That's a reality. That's just how it operates for the casual viewers. And having a controlled ecosystem like this makes a lot of sense. Like imagine if LeBron James could lose one game in the NBA and he's eliminated for the rest of the season. Is that going to help the viewer retention? Be like, wow, this team over here beat LeBron James. Wow, they're so good. No, they're not going to care anymore. They're just going to be like, oh, my star player's out for the season. I'm no longer engaged. Yeah, my team's out. I'm no longer engaged. So having a consistent season format where no matter what, you're stuck around at least for the regular season does help control the optics a lot more. So I do see why if you're going to invest money, it's a more stable way to tweak the variables as you go versus open bracket where you have no control of what results at the top level. You don't know who's going to win that, if they're going to have any star power or whatever, and it's a bit more variable. I still love the open brackets, and I think it's more hype overall for me, but I can get why Capcom as a emotionless business play would go more in Street Fighter League's direction because they can control it, and that's what we're seeing firsthand. Any other thoughts on that? You got to be on a Street Fighter League team. That's the way to go, man. You're trying to get sponsored.
I mean, that's obviously the best thing. That would be the best way, but like I said, there's not even a real clear-cut path to get on the Street Fighter League. I just feel like, it's vibes and good feeling. There's no clear path. There's no like a tryout, no like a combine. You go to you get drafted in the NBA. There's a combine for NFL, but here it's just like,
there's a combine for Street Fighter League, but no one gives a shit.
I forgot about that combine. Holy
there literally
shit,
is a combine.
Yeah.
All that does is require for the captains to force their players that they're going to pick to enter. That's essentially all it is. It doesn't change anything. I think what's required to be on a Street Fighter League team is to not play Manon. I think that's the requirement. So Adam, you got to get on that.
There was actually, I think the only Manon player I've ever seen on any Street Fighter League, I think it's been Tashikawa actually.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
even in Europe.
Yeah, not a popular pick, man. All right, well, that's it for the CPT updates. We have one final story to get to this episode. Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Is it back? We had the TNS number 200. Max trying to bring it back, man. You want to break this one down?
It was never gone. That's the thing.
Oh, yeah, I think that's what this TNS showed, right?
Yeah, I mean, I entered the TNS, on Friday. It was TNS 200 for, Marvel 3, 200 weeks of Marvel 3. I think there was like 200 plus entrants for it. I want to say like 213. But yeah, everyone was playing Marvel. And then right before Grand Finals, Max had a video that was saying, hey, there's going to be a 10K bounty for whoever gets the rollback running for the greatest fighting game ever made. That's sick. That's sick. I hope somebody picks it up, but at the same time, rollback's hard, man. Rollback gotta be hard for that game.
Yeah. So to set some context why that would be a big deal in the first place, we can like draw parallels to Melee, and also maybe explain a little bit of like how MVC3 Online even works right now. The reason why TNS works is because they invest their own money in an infrastructure of AWS servers that are hosting the game, and players will connect to those servers using Parsec, and they have multiple server locations all across the country so that both players, player A and player B, one's in California, one's in New York, maybe the server will be in Texas, like whatever kind of central point to them to cause equal input delay to both players. But it's still input delay based, and they have to like pay money to run these AWS servers and multiple of them at the same time to have these players connect from all over the country to play each other. And so that's a big effort that TNS put on to be able to host their events. And that's not really like a feasible solution for every player to play each other. You can play anyone with Parsec right now, but it'll be like, the host will have no input delay, and the distance that the connecting player has to deal with will impact their experience. And it's not just like a simple baked-in client experience. Slippy for Melee, Slippy, the mod was developed, and that basically built from the ground up a client to do online matchmaking even for Melee with rollback netcode. And they built this up to have more complex matchmaking, have a rank system. And I think the base version of that is free, but for matchmaking and all that, there's like a fee to pay to help support the development from Slippy himself, because that's a huge undertaking to implement that rollback netcode. And that revitalized again the Melee community and led to the next evolution of that game and the resurgence of the active player base over COVID especially. So bringing that to Marvel could mean the next evolution of this game being alive, where suddenly anyone can play anyone all the time and make that a reality. But like you mentioned, doing rollback for this game is hard because rollback requires all these save states and being able to predict the inputs and roll back to it. This is not a $10K job. Really, this is someone who, if they were to do it, were already going to do it or wanted to do it and were passionate about it. And this is like a tip, because this is a full-time software engineering, like rock star type of job to pull this off. Because this would be PS3, Xbox 360 level emulation, which is still like on the frontier of emulation, and it would be really difficult to achieve, but could potentially make MVC3 a title like Melee, which a decade plus later, 15, 20 years later, still being played competitively and getting new people into the game even this late in its lifespan.
I think for me, I would love if that happened. I really don't think it's feasible, because even I think like the newest fighting game that's gotten rollback has been like Tekken 3, and I think Tekken 3 was like on the PS2 or PS1, I don't remember. But it's just so hard when you start getting to like the 360 PS3 era, because like there's so much more movement. Rollback for a tag fighter at that, is not the same as making rollback for a 2D fighter. So I don't know. I wanted to believe it. I wish there was like a way, as a fan of the game, to put in my own money or make the pot even bigger to incentivize somebody to do it. Because if Marvel 3 got rollback, I'm not playing any other fighting game. I got what I wanted. It's over. That's all I really want. But I know it's just too much of an ask.
Dude, yeah, Marvel 3 with an actual, if they built it up to like a Slippy level mod with actual matchmaking and a ranked system, would be insane. I do think it would have an actual resurgence because we've already seen that in TNS. A lot of the best players in the NA Marvel 3 scene right now are like young kids who were babies when the game was released. Like they learned this later in life when the game was past its prime in the offline FGC circuit.
I think one good thing that Marvel 3 has that, you know, a lot of other games kind of don't have, there's no one like really downplaying Marvel or being like, hey, you know, this game sucks, or you know, don't, or you know, some guy making a YouTube video about this, because everyone who's still playing Marvel is just so passionate and they love the game because that's the only reason you're still playing this many years later. So, and anyone who ever asks to play Marvel, I want to get better at Marvel, all the Marvel players or even the community is so welcoming on board. Hey, I'll teach you how to play. Hey, you want to run some matches? Because we got to get any matches any way we can at offline events. Even when I'm at offline brackets, you know, I was at Frosty's, I'm always just playing Marvel casuals because I can play Strive at home. I can play Street Fighter 6 at home. Marvel's kind of the only time I mean, this is the only time I get to play Marvel.
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting point you made about like the positive and passionate community. It's very rare to see that with a lot of fighting game titles. With a lot of the Street Fighter titles, I think like the last time we saw that was like Street Fighter 3. Because even with Street Fighter 4, I think Street Fighter 4 has a lot of positive reception. People love that game, but that was already co-opted by the esports era, and everyone moved on to the next title. And with Street Fighter 5, everyone moved on to Street Fighter 6. So I don't really feel like you have that same vibe. There's no like hardcore Street Fighter 4 audience where they're pushing for maintaining that game at that sort of level and having like this really visible, passionate scene. It's still more successful than I would say 5, of course, in terms of like a old school revival. And there are tournaments that go out there. I mean, I just played at the Broly Lakes tournament at Texas Showdown. I almost made top 8 in that tournament. I didn't know how to play. I forgot how to play. It was crazy. But so like there are still events like that, but Marvel 3 really stands out to me as the most modern, newest fighting game that has this sort of like retro, I'm going to call it retro passionate community, keeping it alive at that level. So it really does seem primed for me to have that Melee. There's so many parallels to Melee here where I really do feel like if they crossed that barrier and got Rollback, there would be a whole new generation of players playing it. And the exposure from the community's passion and, you know, making content, things like that, growing the scene and bringing people in because of how passionate the scene is, I really do feel like it could be successful in that. And we haven't seen that in the core FGC in a long time.
The other thing is, I mean, you know, shout outs to Tom, but every Friday night, if I'm out at if I'm out eating with my friends or just hanging out having a beer with my friends, I always have TNS on my phone just watching because there's always something exciting. Gotta watch, you know, Tong, Southpaw, Proxy, all of them just shooting the shit, and it's good vibes and it's a good ass game, man. It's a good ass time every time.
True. It's like one of the last remnants of like that really old school FGC hang out, like watch some games, chill, shoot the shit, and just hang out, which it's been hard to replicate, I think, in the online era, but TNS managed to do it. So shout out to Max for putting his money up for this. We'll see if they actually make this more like a crowdfunding thing, because I can see this going far beyond 10K. I'm not sure if he touched upon that.
I feel like this could reach like an insane amount of money if they really let everyone more people crowdfund or put into it, because like I said, I feel like so many people want Marvel Rollback just so I can play my favorite fighting game and not have to, you know, suffer playing on Parsec.
Right, for sure. Yeah, I think they might want to like gatekeep that until there's more hope or like a reality before having to manage like, what if we have to refund everybody? When do we do? Exactly. You know what I mean? Like there's logistics there that they want to probably keep under wraps and not blow up too much until some things become more apparently coming to fruition. So we'll see where that goes. It's giving me some hopium as well. I think that would be so sick for the community, and I would love to see the explosion of competition and new players joining the game, because it is one of the best games to play and spectate. It's my favorite spectating game. I think it's so awesome to watch what people cook up in that game, even if you don't play. Easily the best spectating fighting game. It's one of the only fighting games I can still watch and still be like, oh my god, that was fucking sick. When I watch, well, back in the day when I watched F-Champ play, like his like team was sick. But more modern, well, this is not even really to say modern.
when I watch Ray play,
Mm.
it is just like it's poetry in motion. Like no glaze because obviously Ray's from my scene, but like when I watch Ray play, it's poetry. When I watch like Liberal Terminator play, it feels like it's poetry. Like they're writing poetry while playing.
Facts. No, you can glaze some Ray. Don't worry, I'll support you. That's my favorite, one of my favorite players too. I always root for Ray to lose his first 2 characters so I can watch Sentinel. that's my unfair bias. Hey, yeah, go ahead and lose your Magneto and your Doom. Don't worry about it. Let's get that Sentinel in there. But yeah, we'll see where it goes. Shout out to Max again. Shout out to MVC3 community. And I think that's about it for this episode. Covered a lot of ground here. Any words of wisdom to close it out, Idom? We've gone a few episodes without getting your final words in.
Well, my final words has got to be, if you're a rage quitter from early on, you know, rage quitting's okay. If you don't do it, as long as you don't do it against me.
I gotta get you off the show, Idom. You can't be endorsing rage quitters on this show. All right, I guess that's what we're ending on. All right, rage quitters, just don't do it against us. All right, throw me in there, please. Exactly. All right, we're out of here. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Peace out. Take care. Woo! Thanks for making it to the end of this extra trashy episode. There was a lot to cover, so thanks for not rage quitting too soon. Here at the end of the episode, you're going to be seeing the names of our Patreon members scrolling by on the screen right now if you're watching on the video feed on YouTube or Spotify. This show, Extra Trashy, and the Trash Talk podcast would not be possible without the support of these members. Over at the Patreon page, we do have extra content, cut content from main Trash Talk episodes, extra bonuses for members, and we also get people in on the conversation as well for upcoming mainline Trash Talk episodes. So if you want to support, you can head on over to patreon.com/Brian_F. Here, I'd like to personally thank the Landfill members for their continued support: Bryce Scatterfield, Cito Spalis, Chris FK, Chris K. Hibiki, Chuckle Chuck, Doc Fugu, SBO, Flawless Victory, Frazzy, Geen Drive, Hasserus, Kelly Lyles, Scott Richards, 6 Mil, and Smoking Seabass. Thanks for your continued support of Trash Talk and Extra Trashy, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Peace.